What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we are back to analyze the UFC 292 card going down this weekend from Boston, Massachusetts, headlined by Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. A pretty fun pay-per-view card going down this weekend. Excited to break down these fights as always. Joined by my co-host Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Yeah, I'm from the womb, I was a avid, rival to Boston, so I don't, I'm not as enthusiastic about this week. I don't like anything that has to do with Boston, Massachusetts, anything of the sort. So I'm gonna let other people, get all excited. But I feel like a few of the fights here fell off. I think there's definitely less interest about it. But I feel that people will, appreciate Aljamain Sterling after, hopefully this title defense this week. But I will say honestly about Aljamain's career, like I don't really like his prospects at 145. So I'm curious to see what ends up going on with him and the 135 division as a whole. But we're gonna start off at the bottom of the card. Well, what's going on? Yeah. How did your last week go? How's your summer been? We're almost
Very
done.
poorly last week, but I was just gonna talk about. I was also a Yankees fan for a period of my life, big A-Rod fan. So
Mm,
I kind of ditched the support of the Phillies and liked the Yankees for a while there.
I
But
don't know
I've
that.
kind of
Fun fact.
I've lost all allegiance to them actually. After the gang retired, A-Rod, Jeter, Mariano Rivera decided to move things on. Now I'm back on the
That's good.
Phillies.
We honestly we didn't want you, so it's good that you went back to where
Yeah.
you're home. So it's
I'm
good.
not like one of those I'm not one of those to, like, stick through with thick and thin,
Perfect.
I'm the type to jump ship. Um,
Yeah.
Same way with fighters, like, I'll like a guy and they'll lose, and then I'm done with them.
Exactly.
But last week, very, very poor week of bets, biggest loss ever for me,
Ever.
significant, yeah, a lot of units lost,
You were quite
um
confident. You were quite confident.
I don't know. RDA fought very, very poorly. Although, man, it might sound crazy to some, but I really don't think that that was like that horrible of a bet. I just think that RDA actually just fought really badly in there, and that was definitely a winnable fight. Um,
It was
even
definitely a
though he,
definitely
yeah,
a bizarre fight.
I mean, a
It's
guy
quite
who is known for
strange.
being an intelligent fighter in the middle of fights just didn't show that at all in this fight. So maybe he just is done.
Yeah. He
Only
needs to
one.
hit up he needs to hit up David Dvorak.
Yeah, he game plans well. But only highlight of the card was your boy Martin Budai, but buddy,
That's
you've been
right.
banging this drum for a while, and he's just a money train.
That's one that we did get right, Buddy Train, and I'm glad I didn't get too mixed up with the goals, the distance, the over, even though I did lean that way. And I just kept it to the Buddy Train. The Buddy Train, I mean, realistically, how was Josh Parisi going to win that by decision? And then I want to give a shout out to my boy Chad. He called Buddy by Kimura. I don't know if he got that from someone else. Who cares? Either way, he did call Buddy by Kimura. I heard him say it from his lips to God's ears. And Buddy's just a steamroller, bro. This guy might be the next heavyweight superstar, dude. It might be him versus Spivak, for like a number one
Mm,
contender fight in the very near future.
yeah, that would be good for the
Mm.
USSR heavyweight championship. That'd be a
I got Buddy. I got Buddy. I got Buddy.
um. But yeah, good
Undefeated.
stuff from him. Uh, New York's own Marshall let us down
New
significantly.
Jersey. New Jersey,
Oh,
but yeah,
okay, yeah.
that was bad. That was bad.
If it
But
were
he'll be
just
back.
a 1 unit loss for me, I'd be okay with it, but that price just got so good before the fight, we had to add some, and
Yeah,
then he just
you're running your mouth. You're running your mouth. You look real stupid.
got destroyed in there. That was crazy. But, yeah, that's enough about last week, though. We got 12 fights this week, 3 women's fights, 3 middleweight fights, 2 tough fights, 2 title fights, so a good variety of stuff going on here.
Oh.
And we're gonna start things off, in the women's flyweight division, Marina Moroz, Karina Silva. Odds for this one on Bet Online, which is pretty much what I always use for money line, has Karina Silva -155, Marion Moroz +135. Easy analysis here. We're riding with Ukraine. Marina Moroz is much, much more proven. been in the UFC for a long time. Really strong grappler, good in the clinch, not even bad at distance as well. And Silva, to me, I still have too many questions. I mean, the women that she has finished, just a couple of quick finishes in round one. She finished that Chinese woman on the Contender Series. I just don't think that she's beaten anybody good yet. And Moroz has been in the UFC for, what, 6, 7 years at this point. I just think we have a much, much better idea of the fighter than Moroz is. She's only 31. She's training with good women down at ATT. And I think that she's gonna be able to, win this fight really wherever it goes. I could see her getting takedowns and staying on top here. I could see her outstriking Silva on the feet. You gotta be a little weary of that Silva sub, but I just think that Moroz, the fight favors her the more it goes. I mean, guys, last woman to defeat Maria Bueno Silva was, oh no, that's a lie. But that just goes to show you, she has wins over legitimate fighters. Sabina Mazo, Maria Bueno Silva. So I'm going with Moroz here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Moroz is definitely a popular play this week. Solid dog money, underdog female fight. Going against a girl who I think Karine Silva. She's had two, I guess, UFC fights, right? But the between the Botello fight and the last fight, where she leg locked the girl, there's been a fair amount of time. But her jujitsu game definitely looks dangerous. But some of her takedowns, it kind of looks like a little sloppy or something that maybe not that replicate something you could replicate either on higher level fighters or on more than one occasion. Like that takedown that she got on the last girl, she kind of had like an over under, and she's kind of just bullied her to the ground. I don't really think that's happening against Moroz. So I do like Moroz, but I do think that I could definitely see her get submitted. I think she's not a girl that I think is super in the weeds with. Maybe if she kind of get into a leg entanglement or something like that. But I think money line on her is definitely a solid play. So let's roll with that.
I agree. It does concern me a little bit how everybody seems to be on Moroz though. So another Brazilian, Silva, in the women's flyweight division. Some might be inclined to parlay these two. Um, Not me personally, but and Natalia Silva taking on Andrea Lee. Silva minus 330, Lee plus 270. Pretty decent step up in competition for Silva here, but the odds respecting her a huge favorite. Any thoughts for you here on this next one?
Yeah, honestly, this is another time where I kind of would like to play Andrea Lee again. I did have her against Macy Barber. I kind of bet on her a lot because I think after her like initial run, she's only really lost very very competitive decisions across her UFC career. If I'm not mistaken, she's well rounded. But I do say Natalie Silva did look pretty dangerous and deadly in her last fight. So they kind of, or in all her fights, honestly. So she does kind of scare me, but at dog money, it is kind of like I think a solid play to potentially get this girl. We know it is Silva's first time on the pay per view card as well. So I'll decide later on, but you know, it's tough to not want to back. I feel like KGB at this number. She's solid in a lot of areas and a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's tempting. You got to think that the takedowns would likely be the path for Lee. I think Lee has lost some confidence in her striking over the years. Used to be predominantly striking. Now seems to be going to her wrestling a lot more. I mean, she did carve up Calvillo on the feet, but Calvillo doesn't really provide much resistance. So on the feet, I think it has potential to be competitive, but you got to favor just the speed and agility of Silva. And Silva actually has legitimately good takedown defense. Bleda was able to get her down once, maybe twice, but she does a good job getting up. She stuffed a lot of Jasmine's takedowns, and to me, I just think Jasmine is like just a much bigger, um, stronger woman. Probably the same level of wrestling as Andrea Lee. And if she was able to stuff all those takedowns, I do think she probably is able to avoid Lee's takedowns. And even if Lee gets the takedowns, guys, what did we just see? We just saw her take down Barber over and over in every round, and the fucking judges still somehow thought she lost the fight. I know we shouldn't let that delude us from the fact that she probably did deserve to win that fight in that decision. But it's just she doesn't do anything on top after she's getting these takedowns. So I mean, it's a tempting price, but I do think it inevitably loses. We're gonna probably see a Silva decision here. Um, but you know, yeah, whatever. That's enough about that shit. Next fight, first of the middleweight fights. Um, GM3 taking on Andre Petroski here. Petroski's the favorite, minus 221. GM3 plus 186. So Petroski,
Man, you're so much more excited. You could tell, man. You're just kind of like building up. Are you okay? Or don't have a heart
no,
attack.
this is exciting. This is exciting stuff. Um, two 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 guys. I'm cool with Petroski, Philly guy, GM3. Historically, a big fan of his. Definitely think he's getting a little bit past it at this point. But Petroski, man, he's a hoss. He be hustling his way to a win. Rewatching that Wellington Turman fight, just impressive stuff, man. I mean, he's still kind of very awkward on the feet. He gets hit. He kind of looks unsure of himself on the feet at times, but then he just blitzes in for a takedown. He got a really good chain wrestling. He's very heavy on top. Even when he gets put on bottom, I mean, he is, urgent at getting back up to his feet. And this guy's just a really strong grappler. He also has kind of that same DDP looking cardio where it looks like he's gassing, but he's actually not. He just, looks really tired at all times. But you know what? You definitely got to think he's going to be looking to wrestle here. And GM3 kind of actually does better against guys looking to wrestle him than to strike because he's not very durable. He's hittable. He can get rocked really quickly. So when guys are looking to wrestle him, he's not, getting his chin exposed. And then he's able to work to submit or work some comeback of some sort. But, just the most recent guy he's fought who's a grappler was Jocko, and Jocko got him in the clinch, dragged him down, easily avoided all the submission attempts. And it's just Meerschaert's takedown defense is atrocious. He is so adamant about looking for these submissions that his wrestling is actually really horrible. So I think Petrosi's going to take him down, grind him out here. Probably, I think it's going to go over the 1.5 rounds. So I think the over is one of the fights, the bets on the fight I like the best. But I honestly think the Petroski money line is the side here. I'm not interested in betting on GM3 anymore. Just in that last fight against Pfeiffer, man, he looked horrible. I mean, he was just striking with Pfeiffer, going 1 for 1, not showing any intensity, not pressuring at all. Got hit with one big punch, and then he folded his 10. So yeah, I think Petrosi's gonna, grind him out to either a late finish or a wide decision here.
Mm, yeah, so I'll say on this fight card as a whole, I don't think there's a lot of great spots overall. And I did see a little bit of, I believe, action came in on GM3's way. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Petrovsky was a little bit more heavily favored. And I mean, I feel that he's a southpaw. There's two southpaws here. I do see how it could potentially go over here because GM3, even when he gets taken out early, he kind of like positionally, I guess should be able to stay safe. But I just don't really trust GM3. He's just so fucking random. Like sometimes he gets a guy and he's able to, survive and he'll be able to take a few shots and he herky jerkies his way to, a decision win against like freaking Eric Anders back in the day, or some other fights where, let's say like Bruno-Silva where he finishes them later, or different fights of his where Jocko fight. Obviously Petrovsky should be able to win. I mean, but he's got a little Michael Chiesa quit in him a little bit because, I feel like if you put him in a submission, never know. But I'll give him credit. In his last few fights, I thought that he had like an opportunity to kind of break or just, have the fight get out of control. And he was able to keep it to his script and, kind of win easily. So I would pick him, to win this fight and maybe get a submission here. But I think I'll probably just pass on it unless the money line came in a little bit lower. But I would pick Andre Petroski to win for sure.
It's a good point about working through that tough tough spot in a determined fight. He battled back well there. This is probably the toughest test of his career. I mean, Turman is his best win outside that, and
And,
you
and
can't.
and this is a close, Philly's close to Boston, so it's like it's not a hometown fight, but yeah, it's definitely pressure. I think this is his or was the last fight paper. The tournament was a pay per view, right?
It was,
Or
yeah, in
no?
Brazil, I
It
think.
was, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
and
was.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Teixeira and no, no. No, it
No.
wasn't. It was Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay, it wasn't this. It wasn't.
but
Yeah.
also, I mean, Petrosky was submitted by Brian Battle when he gassed out back on Tough, so that does
Mhm.
seem like a um tough fights next. Speaking of tough, we have the bantamweight final. Cody Gibson, Brad Katona, two former UFC fighters here. Katona minus 185, Gibson plus 180. This line just came out today. The fight just got technically finalized last night. What are your thoughts on this one?
I don't got that many thoughts other than I just feel that given that Gibson is plus money, I think they said, I think he's probably a good side. You know, Bracketon is a grinder. He's gonna try to, I don't know, do a lot of stuff, look really active. He's not very good, I don't think. But he's competent everywhere. He's got good cardio, he's tough. He's a fucking nerd, so he's gonna have, he's gonna know the places to attack. But I feel like he's a little bit of a staller at times and stuff like that. But Gibson, I think might accept take that. I don't know. I'll take Gibson though. I think Gibson could maybe get better positions on the ground and on the feet. Probably 50-50, I would imagine. So I'll take Cody Gibson at plus 20.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. No, you said he's a little bit of a staller. I mean, he's a huge staller. I mean, he's a total decision machine, Brad Katona. I mean, it's his striking on the feet is very, he just kind of picks at you and then he looks for takedowns, but never really gets dominant positions. His fights end up just, and stalling and holding in the clinch. Should be noted, we saw this last week in the the Poliana Viana fight. There's a new rule in MMA where the judges or the referees can be a lot more liberal with breaking up the stalling on the ground and in the clinch. So if you're, fighters that are just holding on, they're going to start getting penalized for that. So Cody Gibson to me just seems like a guy who wins fights more decisively. He is able to finish guys. I believe he finished both of his opponents on the contender series or on the tough. He just mauled Rico in his last fight. And Hunter Azure had trouble, with Rico, and obviously got finished in that fight. And Cody Gibson just made it look easy. I mean, I think this guy is actually probably at his career best, even though he is 35, coming off a win over John Dodson just a year or two ago. And I just think that if anybody's winning this fight clearly, it's going to be Gibson. And if Brad Katona is winning the fight, it's going to be like a split decision, grinding, stalling type of fight. So I'm not interested in laying, 65% on Katona, who is going to hold his way to a victory here. So keeping things going in the lightweight fight final next, Hubbard-Holobaugh versus Austin Hubbard. Odds for this one have Hubbard minus 175, Holobaugh plus 150. I'm thinking like these fights are very similar to one another. Just like I was saying against Katona, um, Hubbard isn't the same level of staller. He doesn't really, look to hold on to guys like Katona does, but he wins fights by a thin margin. And we saw that against Roosevelt Roberts in his tough fight. I mean, that fight was just razor close. I actually thought, Roberts had a case to win that one. I don't get it. I mean, it was tied after round two, and then it definitely seemed like Roberts won the third round, and then Austin Hubbard won the fight anyway. I don't get it. But whatever. Really, who could give a shit? But Hubbard to me just doesn't seem trustworthy of laying this juice on. Hollabaugh, on the other hand, when he wins fights, he is putting hands on guys. He's just punched a hole through Jason Knight's head. He submitted his first opponent on tough, and I just think that if anybody's winning this fight by finish, I think it's going to be Hollabaugh. And I just think this guy has a lot more intent behind his punches. Hollabaugh really looks to hurt you with his punches, while Hubbard kind of just paws you, a lot of jabs, just seems like more of a decision oriented fighter. So I think Hollabach just has a much clearer way to win the fight. So I'm going dog or pass on both of these tough fights.
But are you taking either of them?
I think I'm going to take Gibson. Unsure about Hollabach, but
Mm.
will
Yeah.
remain to be
So
seen.
I got Hollowball. I'm gonna take him. I think at plus money, similar thing. I feel that yeah, Austin Hubbard's solid, but I just feel that it could be a much closer. Like if you tell me it's 1-1 going into the third round, like this dude Hollowball is throwing, I feel with better intentions than Hubbard. Maybe he could have the rusting advantage. as well, even though I think Hubbard is competent there. But I just feel it's another kind of like 50-50 fight, potentially. And yeah, that I kind of just like her Holloway. I was kind of high on him during his UFC career. So yeah, I'll just take him. Mhm.
Yeah.
Not that much. I didn't
But
watch. I'll be honest, I did not watch the season of. I watched the fights and stuff. But like, I don't know if he like what the fuck his story is. You know what I mean? Like what he was doing before that. But I mean, he looks like he's pretty tough still, and I think he knows it's his last shot. I think Hubbard. I don't really think Hubbard's really. He don't really give a shit if he's in the fucking UFC or not. So.
yeah, I mean he's 31 too, so he has like more time ahead of him as well. So um all right, that is going to move us along to the second out of three middleweight fights on the card. Hobo Cop, Gregory Rodriguez taking on Dennis Tululin. Odds for this one have Hobo Cop minus 361 taking on Tululin plus 286. Huge favorite for Rodriguez. Hey, when has Rodriguez is a big favorite ever gone wrong, Ozzy? So your turn to start this
Mm.
one off.
Yeah, went wrong before, but not gonna go wrong here. I think Gregory Rodriguez here is gonna settle for a nice win. I think he's gonna finish here for the Brazilian contingency from that is in Boston, which is like one of the biggest ones in the US. And I like for this fight to also go under. So I think our boy Greg the leg, he's gonna keep his hands up here. He's gonna be able to throw the harder power shots at Dennis Tululin, have Dennis Tululin going backwards. From there, at some point, they will end up on the ground, and there will be a finish. I don't know how it'll come, submission or knockout. That's why I'm going with the under here, even though it's juiced. Find a way to, I guess, play. No, I mean that's just the way that I'm gonna play it. So hopefully under minus 170. But I just think that it's gonna, there's gonna be a finish here. Dennis Celulin's not really too much of a point fighter, either. He kind of sits down on his shots as well. He comes forward. So I don't really think he's looking to win a fight by outpointing Gregory Rodriguez. Therefore, Gregory Rodriguez will get the fight that he wants, which is kind of just colliding. And I think a finish manifests early.
Yeah, it should be a really high pace. I mean, both these guys just don't know how to have safe fights. They both just get in brawls every time. So the under probably will hit. I don't love it at the current juice of what it is. Um, because, I think if it stays standing, I think the over actually might, we might see over 1.5 because, Rodriguez does throw hard. He does, really, wind up on some of his punches. Versus a Park, they were bombing on the feet. Versus Marquez, he was bombing them on the feet. But Tululin can absorb strikes to the head. I think he is, fairly tough when it comes to strikes, but it's when you take him on the ground and get him in bad spots. That's when he looks to, get submitted. Has been submitted 4 times in his career. He did make it, pretty long versus Ikram Aliskerov. He was getting dominated in the grappling in that fight, but just wasn't doing anything to like stand up. He was just staying safe and defending, and that's why he made it to the third round there. Um, but also, RoboCop is just reluctant to use his grappling. There have been times before where this guy, could have won fight easily with his grappling, but he didn't do it. Also coming off a nasty knockout, a fight he definitely should have won. He was a big minus 350 favorite in that fight too and got iced in the first round. And then, the guy who iced him got iced, right in the fight next. So it's just like these fights at middleweight, man, they're random. A variance happens. And with a guy who just got knocked out, who's been knocked out a few times before in Rodriguez, I love the guy. I just can't place any more faith in him after he screwed up that last fight. So hopefully he submits him and gets it done easy. Sub, what is it, plus 175, plus 200 on RoboCop sub. I think that's probably the best bet of the fight. Because even if Tululin gets hurt on the feet, I think it's going to probably follow up with some ground of some sort, and he'll probably get choked. So hopefully RoboCop can get it done easily. Um, Next fight is the last middleweight fight on the card. The return of Chris, my boy Weidman, taking on Brad Tavares. Odds for this one have Tavares big favorite minus 267, Weidman plus 227. The fighting spirit of Hawaii will be running through Tavares strong after the wildfires. I wonder if that'll play into the fight at all. It's my turn to break it down first. Um, you know, both these guys are old and definitely past their prime. Uh, Tavares, I think, has been showing it a lot more clearly. Weidman necessarily hasn't really shown that he's completely fallen off that cliff. Obviously, got the leg broken. Um, but the fight before that, though, Omari Akhmedov fight, that was a good performance from him. Struggled early, rallied back late, showed good cardio, got the fight down on the floor multiple times. And, that kind of looked like a little bit of a vintage Chris Weidman performance. And, we were, I think, picking and betting him versus Uriah Hall. I think he would have won that fight if, obviously his leg didn't get snapped. Um, but now, 2.5-year layoff coming off the leg injury, you got to have a lot of questions about Weidman. I think it's Weidman or pass here because Tavares has always been kind of a thin margin guy, wins fights by decision. He has very good takedown defense, but he can just make fights closer than they have to be at times. For the look at the Omari fight, both these guys fought Omari. Weidman beat him clean. Tavares, I thought, also beat him very cleanly, but the judges had it a split decision. That's just because Brad Tavares never puts a stamp on his wins. And he is minus 267. And at that price, you need to put a stamp on that, on your win and to cover that price tag. So I'm not interested in laying the minus 200 on Tavares at all. I honestly hope Weidman has enough left in the tank to come back here and, maybe get some takedowns and win the fight. Although last time he was in Boston, I think it went pretty poorly for him. I believe the Dominic Reyes fight was in Boston. It was, yeah. So bad PTSD from him there. Anything for you on this one?
My boy Chris Weidman, Northeast Shoot Box certified. He's one of the pioneers, one of the founders. Mark Munoz found out that we don't only shoot, we also elbow and box. And we faked the shot and we boxed that one, and he ate a big elbow there. But in this fight here, obviously that injury was terrible. But skill wise, obviously Chris Weidman, he's a tough dude. He's got a nice big frame for the middleweight division. It looks like he's kind of stayed pretty active with Wonder Boy, and stayed nimble, stayed strong. He looks pretty trim. His body honestly looks similar. It's not like a guy like let's say like Nate Diaz, like where his the frame changes. So I think maybe he could do something here. Although, Brad Tavares, I'm honestly surprised that the goes the distance isn't like a bigger price, because I would feel that like they're not really giving like Chris given his odds a lot of finish equity, which is surprising to me. So I'm gonna have to inspect this fight a little bit more, maybe see a little bit more honestly Chris Weidman's media availability to hear what he's been doing and stuff like that. I think this fight would be a good one to actually do that for. But I'm obviously rooting for Chris Weidman. And I think that if he could get some grappling going, this guy is super heavy on top and is a dominant grappler. So I think if he's able to him on the ground, get into positions like mount and the back mount, won't be very good for Brad Tavares.
They have Tavares KO plus 145 or 135 on Bet Online. Just off the top of your head, how many people has Brad Tavares knocked out in the past 10 years, Ozzy?
He's
If you had
not
to
even
guess.
no. I'm not no. No one. Zero.
One. He knocked out
One.
Krzysztof Jotko. 15 or
Mm.
17, 15 to 17 UFC fights in that time. One
Mm.
knockout. And they think that he is over 40% to knock out Chris Weidman here.
He's not even fast. You know what I mean? It's not like even if Chris Weidman was like slower because of the leg break. That so I don't know.
No, yeah,
I like
he's like
Weidman.
he jabs, he leg kicks, he does not like sit down on anything. He's not a pocket boxer. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking with that line. Honestly, I hope Weidman pulls it off. Weidman money line, Weidman points plus 400 I think is good. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. I think they're putting way too much stock into the leg break and him just automatically being shot. While like Brad Tavares looked shot and bad versus Bruno Silva just 3 or 4 months ago. We know that he got knocked out there. I mean, Weidman might have fallen off that cliff, but I don't know, man. I mean, he had a grappling match. Did you watch that grappling match of his
It
at
wasn't,
all?
yeah, it wasn't that good. I
Yeah, but
expected a little bit better.
that's a smart move from him though. Get a pro competition out of the way, not a fight, and get yourself a little more comfortable before you get back into a fight. So I hope Weidman pulls it off. Um, Main card time, fight that was thrown together on a week's notice in the bantamweight division. Excited to see this is on the main card. I like this. Mario Bautista taking on Damon Blackshear. Bautista is the favorite, minus 210. Blackshear plus 180. And I believe it is my turn to start this one. Fun fight. Both these guys are cool fighters. Was supposed to be Bautista versus Cody Garbrandt, and he was going to be, minus 350 there. Would have been an easy matchup for Bautista in that fight. And now I think he's got a little bit more tricky of a fighter. Blackshear coming off that twister just a week ago, ran through Jose Johnson on the mat and submitted him there. This fight is at 135. You'd think the UFC would give him a little bit of a catch weight, having to cut weight back to back weeks, but apparently not. Um, but the way I'm thinking about the fight is on the feet. I think it's going to be competitive. I do think Bautista will have a slightly defined edge on the feet, and then on the ground, I could see either guy having success. We've seen Bautista looking to wrestle a lot more in his recent fights, and he's been submitting guys, but he's been submitting bums. Brian Kelleher, Benito Lopez, Guido Canetti, even the Jay Parent. I mean, the guys that he's beaten in the UFC are no good at all. So I think that honestly, Damon, even though he's only had 2 or 3 UFC fights, I think would be his best win in the UFC. It's a tough fight, man. And the way I'm thinking about the fight on who's the side is, if either guy ends up on bottom here, who do you guys trust to do better on bottom, to get off their back? To me, it's easily Damon Blackshear. We've seen this guy put on bottom multiple times before. We know he has a good guard, good sweeps, ability to get off his back, ability to submit off his back. And we just don't really know that same ability for Bautista. So if these guys are grappling with one another and they're competitive grappling exchanges, I trust Blackshear more in those exchanges, honestly. So Bautista's on a roll. The dude's on some great steroids. He's the one with the full camp with only one weight cut. He has some advantages here, but this is still a really tricky matchup. And I think it's dog or pass, and it's gonna be a fun one, man. This is gonna be a good fight.
Interesting fight here for me. Definitely did not see this one coming. Pause. Because Blackshear he was just not in this. I feel like this like quadrant, like right outside the top 15, really looking to bust into it. Which you find a
Whoa.
lot of guys. Yeah, exactly. I listen. I got it out of the way early, so don't do that one to me. So you can't catch me slipping. So anyway, like I was saying, at 135, there's a lot of these guys that really want to get into the rankings. And there's a lot of guys that squat on the rankings as well. But here, so Blackshear, my issue is that the guy is really, really strong, and a lot of the guys that Mario Bautista has beaten, I feel, are guys that he really kind of overwhelmed. With kind of the strength of the speed, like Guido Canetti. I mean, the guy's like 40 years old. Brian Kelleher, kind of didn't respond well to the top game. And then Jay Perrin was able to go 3 with him. So, I mean, I just don't think that he's some finishing machine, especially when you're thinking you're taking out the possibility of the submission as much. Because I really don't really think that he's gonna submit Damon Blackshear. My only concern is the weight cut for Damon, although I think he'll probably be okay from that. I'm just gonna chalk it up to he's gonna be able to cut the weight okay. So I actually think this fight is gonna probably go to a decision. Competitive decision. I can see Damon, get into that body triangle a few times, being able to hold right out top position, pause, and yeah. So I'm gonna look to the overs here, and it goes a distance. So what is that? Let me see. Trying to
No odds out
refresh.
for it yet.
No else for
No
that,
odds.
yeah.
But
So I'm
I
looking for
agree.
that.
I think it will stretch the full 15.
Mm,
Like you said, I mean, I would be surprised to see Bautista finish the fight via sub. Very
mhm.
surprised. So that does take away like a big chunk of finishing equity. So hopefully we get a good price. Whoever's making the line is probably just going to see, oh, he's submitted 3 people in a row. This is going to end inside the distance. So hopefully we can get a good line on that.
That's what's gonna happen for sure.
Yep. Sticking in the bantamweight division next, another fun fight. Marlon Vera, Pedro Munhoz. In this one, we have Vera minus 210, Munhoz plus 180. Action coming in on Vera, just the past hour or two. The steam is coming. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Marlon on Marlon. So Marlon Vera finally last fight. He was able, I was able to get a prediction on one of his fights right that he would lose, but didn't really hit, that hard. It didn't really, as dog money would. But I get another opportunity here, and honestly, I'm very surprised to see him at a minus 210 favorite, given also the total and it being so heavily favored to go the distance. Because Pedro, I mean, I feel like he's just a hard guy to look, good against, like to win against if you're not like at a very, very quick and cerebral striker because he muddies up, a lot of strikes. He kind of is good with checking kicks and coming forward, pairing shots, kind of like rolling with punches a little bit. And then he'll counter you. He'll throw big counters, and then he's always going to look for the leg kicks. And obviously, he comes in shape. So I just think a lot of these fights at 135, the top guys. I mean, you can maybe apply it to the main event, but I'll say why I don't think that's the case later on. You get plus money on these, and I say it a lot at lightweight as well. I'm taking a plus money on these guys most of the time, especially in a 3-round fight. Pedro's not, he's down to even if let's say Vera's not doing shit. Pedro is okay with doing like a kickboxing fight at range and beat outpointing Vera. He's fine with that. He's good at it. So I'm gonna just take a small play on him on a money line. Plus 180, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. The odds for this one to go the distance heavily favored minus 325. Um, and then they have Vera decision at even money plus 100. And Vera in UFC decisions, 3-round decisions is 2-6. So it's not like Munoz has an incredible record in 3-round decisions either. Um, I don't know exactly. I don't have the numbers on those right off of the top. I think he has a losing record. Honestly, I think he's like 4-6, 4-6 in 3-round decisions in the UFC. To pretty good fighters though. I mean, we've seen Vera lose 3-round decisions to not good fighters though. So um, I got Munoz here as well. Munoz, known for being historically durable, historically hard to submit. That makes me think that Vera's not gonna have the luck just hurting his opponents like he typically does. Rob Font was losing, hurts him. Uh Dominic Cruz was losing, hurts him. I don't think he's gonna have that same equity here just because Munoz is so durable. And Munoz is coming off a stellar performance against Chris Gutierrez, same price in that fight. I mean, to me that this is kind of strange is that this price is the exact same as Chris Gutierrez when Gutierrez is a pretty skilled striker. I think a more skilled striker than Vera. Just was on a good streak, just a smooth striker who had potential to outstrike Munoz just by being the quicker guy. Not the case at all. Munoz hurt him with the punch, was able to get on top. You always got to be worried about Vera being put on bottom. The guy's takedown defense and get ups are horrendous. So I think Munoz can win the fight on the feet, maybe land some hard shots and hurt Vera at some point. And then if he wants to hopefully take the path of least resistance, he's going to look to hit some takedowns because Vera can be easily taken down here. So I like Munoz as well on the money line. I think the price is very good. I'm going to be adding more to the money line if it keeps going up. And that's going to keep us or move us along to the welterweight division, which is another short notice fight. Was supposed to be Ian Garry versus Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal had to pull out. Neil Magny came in. A different Neil came in. And we have Ian Garry as a massive favorite here, minus 505. Neil Magny plus 380. Um, Give us your thoughts on the fight, Ozzy. And actually, oh shit, it's my turn to talk about this one. Fuck. I don't know. I don't like Ian Garry. Obviously, I don't think his personality is very likable. And just something about the guy just pisses me off. I've definitely lost money betting against the guy long term. But I'm wising up. I know I'm not gonna be putting any dollars on this fight. Neil Magny, I think, is just too slow and hittable at range. He's gonna be likely getting lit up with strikes. Only way Magny can win the fight is if he does, the typical Magny win. Get the fight in the clinch, maybe hit some takedowns. But he couldn't even take down Phil Rowe, man. I mean, he was getting his takedown stuff by Phil Rowe. who we know is a very bad wrestler. So it just seems like Magny doesn't have, the drive and strength to get these takedowns. And it's not like Ian Gary's a horrible defensive wrestler either. I think that, Gary will be able to stuff the takedowns, outstrike Magny here. They have the over minus 165 over 1.5. I don't think it's out of the question that Gary just ices Magny early on here. So I wouldn't be wanting to invest that over. I think it's a very sweaty over. Gary KO round one plus 375, man. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I don't typically play those knockout round one props, but I think there's a great chance that Gary absolutely lights him up and just knocks his block off in the first round here. I guess it could be sub as well. I guess maybe that's why you're getting a little better price on it. But what are you
Yeah,
thinking here? What are you
yeah.
thinking about the fight, and what do you think about Ian Gary, career?
Yeah, I think Ian Gary is for real. I think he's a legitimate fighter here in this division. I'm not so sure about where it that means immediate. I do think there's a lot of forks in this welterweight road and ladder, and yeah, how they have it with the Kill Cliff and Tim Shavkat, fucking Usman, Gilbert Burns. But I think the guy's pretty good. Here, I think that I would personally want to bet a under in this fight, but I don't. I'm not really good at. I feel like predicting on the finish side of things. Fights like this, where it's like a clear step up in class for a guy, but he's also a bit of the favorite. I just have not been able to call those that well. I feel, but Magny just looks like he's a little slow. He's not able to kind of like deflect and kind of anticipate and roll with the punches as well. Or at least he didn't in his last fight. And like you said, he really wasn't able to really dominate that clinch against Phil Rowe. And Ian Gary, I feel he's in there throwing like those shots that he knocked out Song Kenan with. Those are some great shots that he was throwing late in that fight, carrying power. So I don't think that really conditioning is an issue for him, and that's usually what Neil preys on. So that's why I feel he's gonna get finished. But yeah, so yeah, I would say that Ian Gary. I think Ian Gary inside the distance is like minus 130, minus 140, and then that under is like slight plus money. So I would probably lean towards just taking the under. Right? What's the under? Plus 120, I think you could
Yeah.
get a lot of right. Yeah. So I think I'll think about this one a little bit more, but that's definitely the side I'd be leaning.
I actually think Gary ITD is good here. I
Well,
just took some. I just took some of
plus
that.
135 for the under. I would take. I mean, that's definitely appealing.
Yeah, but Magny also. I mean, Magny always is in great shape, but he didn't have a camp for this fight. He did only take the fight on a week's notice. Did just fight. Looks like maybe 8 or 9 weeks ago. So you never know. And then when he loses, he has been getting finished lately. Got finished. Um,
He just looked pathetic against Shavkat when he got guillotined. But
yeah.
that's the thing. It also does feel maybe a little bit like too good to be true. So
Six
probably
six
avoid it.
of his last 7 losses have been by finish. So I think YTD minus 135 is good. I'm actually expecting Gary to just hurt him with a shot and knock him out in the first round. So that's going to move us along to the women's strawweight championship fight, co-main event time. Weili Zhang taking on Amanda Lemos. Odds for this one have Zhang minus 320, Lemos plus 270. Your turn to start this one off.
Mm. Yeah, these girls gonna get busy. I love this weight class, 115. I thought that maybe Lemos wouldn't get the title shot, but I think I'm fine with it. I just didn't expect it honestly to come on this card. I thought they were gonna do like the Singapore thing, but whatever. Um, so yeah, so Lemos, the thing here is, I do think maybe she's a little bit underrated. I do feel that the girl has some skills in a few different areas, and the physicality that she has is not as common in it's kind of like similar to Wei Lee. But she throws hard. I feel that, she's like she'll be able to maybe find Wei Lee with like some single shots, but Zhang should be able to start off the exchanges and end the exchanges better. But you saw, like, in that similar to that Rose fight, it is possible to hit her. Sometimes I feel like she's, like, a very, like, pattern-centric, striker where, if you have really good setups, that, she hasn't seen before, it's very, you're very likely to catch her. So a girl like Lemos who throws, who's very quick, very fast with her hands and stuff, maybe she's able to land a few shots early, maybe stun her. But other than that, I do think that Whaley, she's more like a machine, like very steady, like, keep inflicting damage, getting ahead on strikes. So I would think that she should be able to chip away. But I wouldn't blame someone taking a dog shot here. But I think the odds are probably mostly accurate here. Under is not very that interesting to me. At 3.5, at the -205 or any of them. So it'd be an overall pass fight for me. But I do think that Lemos probably has a little bit better chance than people really are giving her credit for.
Um, Interesting. I'm surprised to hear you say that you think the price is accurate. It sounds like you have more faith in Lemos than what the money line has given her. Um, but I don't have a ton of strong thoughts here, man. Both these women are similar in the sense they kind of don't really have like that great refined skill. They kind of just use their athleticism to high roll finishes. Definitely the case for Lemos. I think Zhang is getting better skill wise, and definitely the more skilled fighter of the two. And I think her being the favorite definitely makes sense, but I don't know, man. I think this is getting a little out of hand. I mean, we did just see Zhang in the fight against Rose. I mean, she was completely gassed out in the fourth and fifth rounds of that fight. She had a good first 3 rounds, probably won the first 3 rounds, probably deserved to win that decision. But in rounds 4 and 5, I mean, she was death gassed, laying flat on her back, unable to get up. And that's the last time we saw her in those late rounds. I don't think that Lemos cardio will be very good as well. She has had cardio issues, gassed out in the Angela Hill fight. She did just get at that finish versus Marina in the third round. So I guess she's showing a little bit of improvement there. But I don't know, man. I think if this gets like to the third, fourth, fifth round, it's going to devolve into some really sloppy shit. And I could see either woman winning in that case. And I also sort of feel like um, it's either going to end in the first 2 rounds or it's going to go the distance. I think they're both going to be too tired past the second round to finish one another. Maybe Lemos can hit her with a big shot and put her away like she did to Rodriguez, but I don't see it, man. Especially with my thesis on these 5 round fights. Lemos is it no, it's not a first 5 round fight. It's second for five, no, third, and neither have gone the distance. So maybe this thesis is not the best one to go with in this fight. I don't really have a lot of cohesive thoughts, as you could probably tell by the ramblings that I've been doing for the past minute. So I'm just gonna cut it off and say that I'll pick Zhang by decision. But I have no fucking clue what to really expect from this one. The props, I haven't really looked at them. I don't see anything I like. Um, Lemos KO plus 500, I guess, wouldn't be too bad. We have seen Zhang get, rocked and knocked out before. So, um, odds, we're going to move to the main event. Main event time, men's bantamweight championship fight. Champion Aljamain Sterling taking on challenger Sean O'Malley. Odds for this one have Aljo -260, O'Malley plus 220. Um, just got to take an opportunity to talk about how we got here, and that was Sean O'Malley's last fight against Peter Yan, which was 10 months ago now. Split decision win for him there. And just rewatching the fight, I mean, I've always maintained that Yan won, and I just cannot believe that he won that decision. Just rewatching it, man. I mean, Yan, without a doubt, clearly won the second round. Nobody disputes that. The first and the third round were competitive, okay, but I really think it's much easier to give Yan both rounds, especially the first round, than it is to give either O'Malley. So the fact that he won both of the 50-50 rounds while losing the clearest round of the entire fight, it was just some very low outcome shit. Jan was like a -800 favorite after the second round. So it's a goddamn miracle that we're here, is what I'm trying to say. Is that this title fight was not won, O'Malley did not get here on merit. He is completely being elevated by being the UFC's, little puppet. And, Aljamain Sterling is going to absolutely smash this guy, basically, is what I'm saying. And the last fight, Aljo's last fight, was there in person, scored it for Cejudo when I was there live. Rewatching the fight, I think it's a pretty clear Aljamain win. I gave him the first, the third, and the fourth round. Um, I think the first and the fourth are really clear Aljo rounds. The second, the third, and the fifth are all competitive. I gave Cejudo 2 and 5, and gave um, Aljo the third. Even though Aljo did end the third round getting taken down with that inside trip for 15 seconds, that didn't mean shit, guys. Aljo still was up in that round. A little 15-second takedown doesn't change that. So clear Aljo win for me there. I thought his cardio looked better. He in the Yan fights, he gassed out after the third round and was completely flat in the fourth and fifth. And then the fourth round was one of his best rounds of this entire fight versus Cejudo. And bro, he just hustled really well there, man. I mean, he threw a lot of strikes. He got the positions in the clinch where he wanted to. Was being active from the clinch with strikes, and Cejudo just didn't do nearly enough to win that fight, but Cejudo looked good. I think it was a really good win for Sterling. It was nice to see him win a 5-round decision. Even though it was split, I thought he won this one, more decisively than he did the first Peter Yan fight or the second Peter Yan fight. So I just think that the way that O'Malley was getting taken down versus Peter Yan, the way he was getting put on bottom, taken down over and over again, giving up his back to stand up. I just think there's no fucking way that he's stopping the grappling onslaught from Aljamain Sterling, who is probably the best grappler in all of MMA, or certainly top 3, top 5. But I think the way he blends together the wrestling, the control grappling, even the way he sets the takedowns up with his strikes, I think he is just extremely high level, and I think that he's gonna pressure O'Malley to the cage, use his strikes to pressure him, use those long front kicks, those calf kicks. We know O'Malley hates getting kicked in the legs, and we know Aljo kicks the legs. So I think he's gonna pressure O'Malley to the cage with his kicks, get in on a takedown, and he is just gonna absolutely maul O'Malley when it comes to the grappling here. I don't think it's gonna be close. I don't think that O'Malley's gonna even have a real moment here in this fight. I think it's gonna be, a shutout from Aljamain Sterling. But I've doubted Sean O'Malley along the way a lot. I've doubted him a lot, and I've been wrong a few times. I've been right a few times, but I'm just gonna continue to keep doubting him here. I don't think he deserves to be in this fight. I think it's going to be a mismatch, and I think Aljamain Sterling is going to finish him in probably the second or third round on the mat. And he will cover. It will go under. Aljamain is the money line side, and I'm going to go with it being a TKO instead of a sub. Let's hear your
Nice,
thoughts.
nice main event pick there for you. So you're going Northeast Shoot Box. In this main event, it bit you in the ass, and you went against it back in February, was it, when Peter Yan fought Marab? So now you're on the
Yeah.
right side. Yeah, now you're on the right side. And I mean, I think it's an interesting fight. Sean O'Malley, he's accurate, or accurate and athletic. He poses he's like a different style guy. At this weight class, you don't really see too many rangy, guys with like that fast switch in and out movement. So I think for Sterling, obviously he's gonna have to be cognizant of, as he comes in. Sometimes he's dipping down, changing levels, and he's susceptible for spinning strikes sometimes, I feel. But I do think that overall, early, this guy is just so on point that it's really hard to stop someone like that from grabbing onto you, especially when he's quick and fast in those early rounds. And I think that's when Sean O'Malley is susceptible to getting his back taken, getting just squeezed, overwhelmed, and pounded out potentially. But I think he might be able to stall out maybe sometimes in some grappling positions. Maybe if they're in guard, and Aljo's just throwing some ground and pound, that's not really looking to stop the fight. So I think Sterling potentially might need a little bit more gas than he's expecting, and that's, I think, would be O'Malley's best chance. But obviously, I think I'm with everybody that thinks that there's going to be a finish here, one way or another. Either very very early from Sterling, or I think even late could happen as well. So I got Sterling inside the distance. I think it was like plus like 140. I think is like the price I got. So I like that. Because I feel that if he is grappling, he's gonna be. This is a guy that he looks to get to these dominant grappling positions where you can threaten a finish, whether it be submission or by strikes. And yeah, so he's in retain, and then we'll see where he goes from with the belt from there.
Nice. Nice, good stuff from there. Um, I have my 3 FMKs ready
Nice.
to rock and roll.
Oh,
Do you want me to give you mine first?
yes, please do. Hold on,
Okay.
give me 1 second. All
Yeah,
right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
gather your thoughts. Alright, so they're all gonna be props. And
Mm,
I tried to make them, around the same tier as of, like, interest, so I think these
let's
are gonna
see.
be some good ones for you. These are gonna be tough
Okay.
choices. Okay.
Okay.
They're all
Okay.
gonna be props, they're all gonna be method of victory props, and they're all different
Mm,
method of victories. Okay.
mm,
We have the first one, Amanda Lemos by KO plus 500.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
next one, Robocop Rodriguez submission plus 225. And the
Okay.
third bet, Chris Weidman decision plus 400.
Chris Weidman decision plus 400. Okay, so I got RoboCop submission, Weidman that, and then Lemos KO. So I would take interesting.
Actually, make that
So
500 on the Weidman decision
on the
on
Weidman
DraftKings too,
decision.
plus
Okay,
500.
so I'm gonna fuck the Lemos by knockout. I'm gonna
Mhm.
fuck that. I'm gonna kill I'm gonna kill the RoboCop. Uh, no, I'm killing the Weidman decision.
Mm.
I'm killing RoboCop because I'm
Wow.
killing the RoboCop. I'm killing the RoboCop submission, and then I'm gonna marry Weidman decision just because if the books are saying that he's just very not likely to finish Brad Tavares, I guess he's got to win by decision, and I kind of like him to potentially win the fight. So I think that would probably have to be the most likely, and so if I get to play Long Island like that, I don't think it's that bad. So plus
Inter
500 sounds good to me.
interesting stuff.
Now for you. All right, Martian. So Martian, you're gonna get Marina Moroz plus 130. All right, so tuck that one away. We got Ian Gary inside the distance for you at minus 135, correct on DraftKings. And then the last one is Pedro Moneyline, Pedro Munoz Moneyline plus 165. Fuck, Mary, kill. Those three lines, Martin. What do you got?
Well, Munoz is money lines up to 180, so I'm gonna
What
use that.
is that
But
on DraftKings? Oh my
on
bad.
BOL.
All right, so use that number. Fine.
Okay. These are good ones. I've bet all 3 of these already. So, okay,
Okay.
let's think about this one. These are really tough. These are good ones, Ozzy. These are good ones.
Got your mind in a
Okay.
pretzel.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
First off, I'm fucking the baddie, the Ukrainian baddie, Marina
Ooh,
Moroz. We're
ooh.
fucking.
She's
Um,
been waiting for another Ukrainian like her to
yeah,
come
she's been
down.
hitting me up. She's been hitting me up for a while now, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna finally give her the goods. All right. That's gonna leave me to marry the Brazilian Pedro Munhoz, the old reliable
Mm.
ATT's finest. I think he
Get
trains
that
there,
green
right?
card, Pedro. Get that green card. Yeah, he trains there. Let's
Um,
go.
so, um, and then I gotta kill, the other Florida guy, Ian Gary, ITD minus 135. I
Mm.
like this bet, but it's juice, it's you're getting the worst ROI on the bet. And Neil fucking Magny has a way of clinging on and weaseling his way to surviving at times. So there is a chance that looks painfully
Obvious.
like a painfully losing bet.
Oh,
So
yeah.
fucking Moroz, Marion Munoz and killing Ian Gary, and that'll do it. That'll do. Those are good
Nice.
ones though.
You finished strong. You finished strong, Martian.
Yeah,
Nice.
I
Good job.
actually bet that Hobo Cop sub plus 225. I bet that during the podcast. I know it has potential to be a KO, but I mean, Dennis Tululin's been subbed 4 times, been subbed recently a few times. You know, he gives up the back, he gives up the neck, and if Hobo Cop, I think he's gonna be like,
Pause.
I'm tired of giving up. Hobo Cop's gonna be tired of getting knocked out. He's like, yo, I just fought this bum Ferreira. I got knocked out. It's time for me to use my black belt a little bit more. I'm gonna submit this guy. So hopefully he comes through and does that for us. And hopefully everyone enjoys the fights. I'm pretty confident our boy Aljo is gonna get it done. Might be his last fight at bantamweight. But any closing thoughts for you here, Ozzy?
No.
No closing thoughts from Ozzy. That is going to do it. Hope you all enjoy the fights, win some bets, and we'll see you all before the next UFC event, UFC Singapore next week. Peace out, everyone.